Hi, I'm Joy Kish, Senior Director of Alumni and Trustee Relations at Mars Hill University. Welcome to the presentation of Mars Hill University's Alumni of the Year 2020. For almost 70 years, the university has been recognizing our alumni in this manner. This is indeed a very special honor given to one of our most deserving alumni in recognition of their citizenship, community contributions, and service. This announcement is usually made on campus in person. However, due to COVID-19, we are having the very first virtual presentation. Mars Hill University's president, Tony Floyd, will introduce the 2020 Alumni of the Year, followed by an interview with the recipient and comments from other very special guests.
Well, Lions, I wanted to introduce you to our Alumni of the Year. Eric Mann from Jacksonville, Florida. He is on our Board of Trustees and has been a part of the Mars Hill family for a while. And I want to introduce you to him, and we're going to find out his story. So, first of all, Eric, tell us, what does it feel like to be the Mars Hill University Alumni of the Year?
First of all, I was shocked when you called and humbled by being selected as Alumni of the Year. It's one of the things that you can't go out and try and become an Alumni of the Year. I've just been trying to help as much as I can, and so again, humbled to be selected and proud to be a Mars Hill alum.
Well, that's great. I can't wait for our students to watch this interview, watch this conversation, because a lot of them are where you were back then, and you have graduated and gone out into the world doing all kinds of things, and I'm particularly drawn to your YMCA story because I'm a YMCA person myself, and so tell us your story. How did you end up at Mars Hill? What's your Mars Hill story?
My story is probably similar to a lot of students. My football coach, my high school football coach, is a graduate of Mars Hill. Matter of fact, he's in the Hall of Fame at Mars Hill. And he had a few of us who played on the high school team visit Mars Hill with the intention of recruiting us to play football there. And so that's how I was first introduced to Mars Hill, was through my high school football coach.
Wow. And so tell us about, before we jump too far in, tell me about your background and your family and everything. Introduce yourself to the Lion Nation.
Well, I'm one of two children. I have an older sister. My mother was a school teacher. My dad was a plumbing contractor. My mother went to school at Livingstone outside of Charlotte at Salisbury. And so growing up, I traveled through North Carolina, going back and forth to homecoming, and then my sister attended Johnson C. Smith. And so grew up in a small town called Summerville, Georgia, about 18,000 people. Your traditional Friday night lights kind of town. Sports is a big deal where I grew up. And just, regular family. And so I always knew I would go to college somewhere. But growing up in Georgia, my eyes were set on the University of Georgia. A lot of my high school classmates went to Tennessee or Jack State University in Alabama, but I was fortunate enough to get an opportunity to attend Mars Hill.
So what were your academic interests when you were young?
Wow. I wanted to be in the Air Force. I wanted to be a cowboy. I wanted to be an accountant. You name it, all of those things went through my mind growing up. I think if I really wanted to, when I got to Mars Hill, I was either thinking about an accounting degree or PE or recreation. It was one of those two. I have a keen interest in numbers, but at the same time, I knew that I probably wanted to do something around sports and fitness. And so that was what I when I came to school. That's really what I was thinking about.
So, tell our alums about yourself now, your career, the things you're doing with the YMCA in Jacksonville.
I've been with the YMCA organization for 39 years, so I literally graduated on a Friday and started working for the Y the following Monday in Asheville. And so, not thinking about it as a career, it was an opportunity. I had an internship and they offered me a job. I'm sure a lot of students have this conversation with their parents when they get ready to graduate, and that is before graduation, my mother calls me and says, well, what are you going to do after graduation? And I said, I think I'll come home, take the summer off, maybe referee some softball games, play some baseball, just hang out, and then put my resume out in the fall. And my father, I heard him in the background say, well, what about that place you've been working for free for? And he was talking about my internship with the Y. And I said, well, they offered me a job, but it was $5 an hour as a youth worker. And I was thinking to myself, I just went to school for 4 years. I have a degree. I'm not sure I want to be a youth worker. And, like good parents, they said, you probably want to stay up there. And so I ended up staying in Asheville, starting with the Y. And from there, I led an unbelievable career with the Y. I left Asheville in '82 to move to New Haven, Connecticut, where I became youth director at their downtown Y in New Haven. I progressed to senior program director, and that doesn't mean a lot, but I went from running one department to overseeing 4 departments. Then I got recruited to go to Los Angeles in 1987, and I was an associate exec of a large Y in South Central Los Angeles. Did that for a year and a half, and then I became a branch executive of the Westchester Y, which is, if you know LA, if you're ever going to LA, you fly into LAX. Well, that community is called Westchester, and it's around the beach area. And so I was a branch executive at that Y and had some good success. It was a great opportunity for me. And then I was recruited to go to Cincinnati, Ohio as a vice president of operations and marketing. And so that was a transition culturally. I met my wife in Los Angeles. Our daughter was born in LA, and then we moved in November, which was winter time in Cincinnati from LA, which was not only a culture shock from the standpoint of weather, but just overall, it was just a different place in Los Angeles. Really loved my time in Cincinnati, but at that time, being in the corporate office, I got recruited to move to Charlotte, North Carolina. Within 2 years of being a vice president there, I became the chief operator of the Charlotte, North Carolina YMCA, which at the time we were probably the 10th largest Y in the country. And I just had a great experience in Charlotte. Lived there for 5 years, and my wife is from North Carolina, and she, I tell her, we kids, she went to the other hill. She's a Chapel Hill grad. And so, but yeah, so North Carolina, for both of us, we both had relatives. Our parents still lived there, and so Charlotte was very, very much like home for us. And then I got recruited to become the CEO of the Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania YMCA, which was my first CEO position. And really, Pittsburgh's a great city, great sports town, the Y and the volunteers. And we spent 8 years there. Our daughter graduated from high school from there. And it was at that point she was graduating that the search committee for the Jacksonville Y came out and looking at an opportunity. And quite frankly, I'd never been to Jacksonville, wasn't on my radar screen. I was happy in Pittsburgh, and God had another plan for me. And so I moved here June 30th of 2011, which was my birthday, and we're so happy to be here. And so I've been here now 9 years, and plan on retiring here at some point. Jacksonville is a great city. I work with some amazing volunteers, and there's a lot of good work that we're doing here. So that's a quick overview of my career. I've been northeast to the west to central part of the country, and now I'm back into the south.
So how many wives are you over, and what amount of employees are you dealing with? Give us a sense of the scope of your job.
Well, we currently have 14 branches, and we have a charter school and a residence camp. So that would be our 16 operations. We're opening 2 new branches next month. That will take us up to about 17, 18 operations. Pre-COVID, we had 1,700 employees. COVID has really done a job on our organizations like everybody else. And so we'll settle in around 1,200 employees after we go that route because of just the magnitude of the volume of people that we serve. We serve about 150,000 people a year pre-COVID. We believe that we'll get back to that number hopefully at the end of next year. But yes, it's a large operation. Our operating budget is about $36 million that we oversee.
Eric, it's been amazing to watch you from a distance lead a huge organization through a pandemic and all the turmoil of our time, and we're really proud. And you've been a role model for me. I've been watching what you're doing, and to lead in this time I know is very challenging. I know the committee who selected you, you're very impressed with that, and your lifelong accomplishment as a Mars Hill Lion. So what advice would you have for an 18 to 22-year-old sitting here at Mars Hill this weekend? How can they get to where you've gotten in the corporate world? What advice do you have for them?
One is, you can't be afraid of a challenge. You have to be a lifelong learner. You can't be stagnant with your knowledge, and not just knowledge of your specific technical skill, but your knowledge, well-rounded skill. That's one of the things that I think Mars Hill provided me, was a well-rounded, balanced understanding of education. And therefore, when I got into my profession, and I didn't know it was my profession when I started, but Mars Hill prepared me to be what I would say, thinking about what could be and what positive impact could I make, whatever I did. And the other part was, I minored in psychology. I had a recreation degree, a BS in recreation, but I was taking a lot of psychology, and I took a liking to it. I took more classes. It's probably the best move that I made in terms of psychology. Allows you to understand people. And if you're in the people business, and most of us, a lot of us are, a better understanding about what motivates people, how to really get people to not follow you, but from a leadership standpoint, you want to understand the folks you work with. And so work hard, be a lifelong learner, never be afraid to raise your hand for that opportunity, that next opportunity. Stack, what I call stack experiences. And not that you forget what you did when you started, but continue to stack experiences, and don't be afraid to go after your opportunities. I moved 7 times, and that has allowed me, one, I moved to different parts of the country that I never lived, never visited. The people that you meet, and understanding and learning from those individuals. I've worked with some of the most powerful people in the country, and I still, right now, whether it's with a millionaire or with that person on the street, being able to communicate effectively and it's really, I call them soft skills. Really pay attention to the soft skills, because whether it's diversity, people are different, but that does not mean that they can't be part of your team or you can't be part of their team. But being able to appreciate those differences and understand it. And so those are things that I would say you can't be a stagnant learner. Now, especially, I mean, between technology and social media, there are so many inputs every day that we see. And so having a discerning, what I call filter, it really is going to be important, because you have to figure out, one, how is it going to affect your life, but understanding the implications when you're listening to this, or whether you're looking at a position or whether you're at work. Information is not going to be the issue. It's what do you do with that information is going to be key. And so those are some things that I would say. And love what you do. And love what you do. That's the other side of it.
So I'm sitting here in Blackwell Hall. I'm looking out at Bailey Mountain on a beautiful day. I've fallen in love with this place my first few years here. I think you feel the same way. What's your best memory of Mars Hill?
I have quite a few, actually. I lived in I think it's Spillman, right? Spillman, right?
Spillman was on, yeah. We no longer have people living there, but it's very, very active.
Well, I'm an old guy, so we were still living there in '77, and then I will tell you, it doesn't sound like a lot, but for those who there was an annex on Spillman in the back. It had 6 single rooms, and so one of my greatest experiences was I was able, as a sophomore, to get one of those single rooms in the annex. It was like your own little independent, no roommate, only 6 people. You had to fight over the showers. But it was also at the bottom of the hill from the girls' dorm, so they had to walk by there every day. So we would sit on the steps and watch them as they came by. But no, I think it's for me, living in Georgia and not really having traveled a lot of places, going home with my classmates on the weekends, visiting other parts of North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, that was very special, because again, I really hadn't traveled outside of Georgia. Matter of fact, my first plane ride was from home to Asheville, my freshman year. So, but really it's the people. And then I was able to go to summer school a couple of summers and work. I was a lifeguard in the college pool, and was able to take my toughest classes during the summer. So I got smart. I figured, if I could take my toughest classes during the summer, I'd have more time with the professor. And so that was another piece that I enjoyed. A lot of students came back for the summer, and I will say at one of my unique visits to Hot Springs, during summer school, I was doing some umpiring of some games, and a few of the classmates, we all did some umpiring. So we were over, and I remember I thought it was a right call, but the people in Hot Springs didn't necessarily think it was a right call, and we got chased out of Hot Springs because, and that was definitely one where, there wasn't a bunch of African Americans in Hot Springs back then. So that was a unique experience. But overall, I really enjoyed my 4 years at Mars Hill. My cousin, I get there and found out my first cousin was a sophomore, Cheryl Mann. And Cheryl played on the girls' basketball team, really, really good athlete. And so I obviously knew Cheryl, but I did not know she was going to Mars Hill, so that was a surprise as well.
That's great. So, as part of your advice, we may use part of this video to speak to prospective students as well. What would you tell a 18-year-old or 17-year-old high school senior in Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, why should they think about Mars Hill as a possible university for them?
Everybody's really not made for major, large universities. You know, understanding what you want out of your education and understanding that a small environment with personal attention, building real relationships, whether it's with your professors or with your classmates, in an environment that is supportive. And at the same time, the way that Asheville now, I mean, you're less than 15, 16 miles from all of the activities you want, but you've got Wolf Laurel, you've got supportive staff and professors, and it just provides a great environment for you to learn and to grow from a teenager to adulthood. And that's really what it did for me. You know, I went from a teenager to an adult, and Mars Hill was the perfect place for me to do that. And I think that's what young people want to understand, and is how do you grow? You know, how do you grow from that person at home to getting some independence? You're starting to set that foundation for your future. I would say that Mars Hill was great for me, and is a lot of students really want to be in that kind of environment where they're getting supported, they're able to grow as a person, and it also gives you an opportunity to meet some really, really strong lifelong friends.
Well, Eric, as we start to wrap up this interview, you are a member of our board of trustees. Tell us what it's like to serve as a trustee at a university, and what draws you into that line of service for the university.
Well, I would say, and a lot of my classmates would probably say I would be the least likely to be a trustee of the university. But I think it's understanding the value of giving back. I got a lot from the university, and over the years, my relationship with my profession, I'm on a pension fund board in New York, I'm on 2 hospital boards, and I understand the value of strong governance. And so when I was approached about being on the advisory board, and I think, I don't know if I told you the story how I got reconnected with the university. Beth Vogler, I tell her it's her fault, but when I moved here, we had about 20 interns from around the country who interned with us during the summer. And I introduced myself, and they went around and introduced where they went to school. Well, one of the students was a young man from Mars Hill, and he was from the Eastern Bloc, had a real big accent. And so at the end, I said, my favorite intern in here is such and such. And he had this look on his face like, what did I do? Well, I told him, I said, you're my favorite because I graduated from Mars Hill as an intern. And so his face was like, you know where Mars Hill is? Of course I know where it is. So long story short, he comes back to school in the fall in a social work class. Beth asked the team, I guess she asked the folks in the class, what did you do this summer? And this young man raises his hand and says, I was an intern at the YMCA in Florida, and this guy, the president, was a graduate of Mars Hill who started as an intern. And Beth is like, who? And he said, he pulled out the card, because I gave him a business card, and he said, Eric Mann. And Beth is like, you're kidding, he's a classmate of mine. Well, Beth contacted me, come to find out she has grandchildren here. And so we connected that way, and before you know it, Dr. Lunsford was making a Florida trip during January and stopped by to see me. And I told him, I said, Dr. Lunsford, you know that I raise money for a living. I know why you're visiting. And so that led me to getting on the advisory board, and then I was selected to be a trustee. But it's really about giving back and just helping wherever needed. My skill set, my experiences, and access to a lot of different understandings and knowledge really was why it's really about giving back.
Thank you for saying that. It is important, and it's really how we make this place work. People giving back, the philanthropy side, the volunteers, the alums coming to events and all. I want to tell you on behalf of the university, Eric, how proud we are of you as an alum, and how thankful we are to have you as part of this team on the board of trustees. You're here in making a difference, and we wanted to honor you with this award, and thank you for it. I'm going to give you the last word. What would you like to say to Lion Nation as we sign off?
Well, MSU, Mars Hill University, it was Mars Hill College when I was there. Take advantage of all of your opportunities that you have. Don't rush. You obviously want to get out of school, but really savor the experience. Savor the experience, the education, the personal growth, your classmates, the professors. It will pay off for you in the long run. And just thank you. I'm humbled to be selected Alumni of the Year. Very surprised, but I do appreciate it. And go Lions.
Go Lions. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. That's Eric Mann. I appreciate you tuning in.
Hi, I'm Linda Judge McCrae, Mars Hill University class of 1986. I'm honored to be serving as chairperson of the Mars Hill University Board of Trustees. I'm so happy to congratulate Eric Mann, class of 1981, as being selected as Alumnus of the Year for 2020. Eric, we're so proud of you. Congratulations.
Eric Mann is one of the most talented and effective leaders I know. His leadership style reflects who he is as a person: intelligent, hardworking, driven, and genuine. Eric has the business acumen and strategic vision required to move an organization forward. But perhaps more importantly, Eric has the natural ability to engage and inspire people from all walks of life. Eric's career has focused on helping others, strengthening communities, and overcoming barriers, and that is exactly what he continues to do every day.
Hi, my name is Beth Vogler. I'm a 1981 graduate of Mars Hill College, and I'm now a faculty member and the social work program director at Mars Hill University. I just want to say a huge congratulations to Eric Mann on his Alumni of the Year award. So deserved, and so excited to have this opportunity just to say a word or two about you. I have to say I'm so grateful, Eric, that you and I reconnected a few years ago down in Jacksonville when I was down visiting a family member, and I appreciate that you had coffee with me that day because, you know, Mars Hill has really benefited from you getting reconnected and involved again in our campus community. Eric and I were having a great time talking about the classes we had together. We remember being in psychology classes together, and I think some of those classes were probably down in a building that no longer even exists on campus. But we just had such a nice time reconnecting, and he told me the story of how his involvement in the YMCA now started when he was an intern at Mars Hill College. And after hearing the story of the intern to the CEO position that he now holds, I immediately came back to campus, went right to our communications department saying, this is a story we have to tell because he's exactly, you know, one of the great alumni that we have out doing such good works in the community, and we're so proud of you. So thank you so much for all that you give for us. I appreciate all the work that you did around the Board of Advisors, and now as a member of the Board of Trustees. I hope to see you in Mars Hill sometime when it's a little safer, but we definitely want to say thanks so much for all you do, and again, congratulations.
I coached Eric Mann in football at Chattooga High School in Summerville, Georgia. Eric was the first black to play quarterback position at Chattooga. I didn't have to tell Eric more than once his assignments because of his discipline and ability in the classroom and on the field. I've always attributed Eric's self-discipline to his mother, Mrs. Jessie Mann. She was an elementary teacher, as was his sister, Jennifer Mann. I took Eric to Mars Hill College along with some other players in 1974. He seemed to like the area, and it being a Baptist college, was impressed with what he saw. He was a walk-on the next fall and was awarded a scholarship in football the next year. Eric graduated in 1977. I'm not surprised that Eric has been given the Alumni of the Year award at Mars Hill University. Since he graduated from his and my alma mater, Eric has given back many times to his hometown and the community here in Somerville. When the recreation center built onto their facility, Eric contributed computers for the patrons. Eric has given to the Dreamers Outreach Program since its existence and sponsors a scholarship given to a Chattooga High School graduate each year in memory of his mother. He wants to award the students that show the same dedication and discipline he showed while living in this small town. My family and I want to congratulate Eric on his excellent life as a role model to all who have had the pleasure of knowing him.
Congratulations to Eric Mann, Mars Hill University's 2020 Alumni of the Year. Please go to Mars Hill University's Homecoming website page to share this video and to also see other virtual homecoming events. Thank you very much for joining us for this special presentation.